Hello and welcome to the video which covers a topic PHP framework. So PHP framework is actually useful for designing websites which has architecture of request and response. There are so many clients, there are so many servers. A client sends a request, and using any technology we can handle data and we can process it, publish it, manage it, and it's saved into a databases like MySQL, Postgres, or any kind of databases which supports or compatible with a technology. Now, why we need frameworks to design any website? So framework is actually useful for handling a complex data which is available in different formats. For that, we need a good communication between all the data. We need to fetch data from the different kinds of users, and in a short time we have to develop, manage with a flexible websites and process it. So there are two main frameworks available in a PHP, that is Drupal and Joomla. So Drupal is actually name came from a drop. It means a drop which is the smallest part of a information which can be required to process a data, which cannot be useful, which can be useful, but it is there. We whatever we can see on a page, it is the information, and we can process it, we can save it, we can transfer it from one location to the another location, and we can instruct to do some task. So these two frameworks are useful nowadays to build a website in a short period of time. So let's see some topics related with a Drupal in this video. So first we are going to have what is PHP framework. PHP itself a large website development technique which handles so much type of data, which has too many functions, built-in functions, and it has so many functionalities which process the data. But a framework which is designed in a PHP like Drupal, what is that? So framework is collection of a software or a program which actually useful for easy coding. It means implement any kind of code and create a short website in a short period of time. So that is the framework. It is help to achieve a goal in a smallest time. So PHP code is integrated with a framework which can do anything if you have PHP code skill, and Drupal is one of them. So it is a free, which is open source content management framework. So what is content management? It will be the handling all the type of data and creating that content into a website. That will be web applications or complex data conversions, like that. Those techniques are useful in a PHP framework. So let's see first what is Drupal architecture, how Drupal works. So there is first Drupal we have to install in a local host or any machine which has a environment like Windows operating system or any Linux operating system. So after installing Drupal, there is a user, or there are so many users, which user logs in first with a login name and password created for the Drupal website or Drupal creation of a content, creation of a pages. Then there is a Drupal administrator which gives all the access to user to fetch the data, to create a content, to publish data, to manage content, and Drupal then accept a request from the user, and using PHP it will run the code, because obviously PHP supports to develop content which is available on the website. So using PHP, Drupal convert a code and send the code using web server like Apache server to the web server. So web server will respond as a request after fulfilling it, and it will access databases like MySQL. So after having a response, user can have the content or a website. User can view the response on a web browser. So before that, before installing Drupal, let's see what is content management system, because Drupal is one of the content management system. So first, what is content? Content is any data or any kind of information what you can see on a website. Any information, any data, any metadata, the data related with the data, any kind of information which is useful, which is not useful for the development, any kind of content, which can be, for example, text, images, audio, video, documents, anything. So for that, content is going to be published. Content is going to be edited by the user. Content is going to be managed by the user. Content is going to be organized by the users, which handles the website, which creates websites. The administrator organizes it, and content can be modified and can be deleted. So all these operations can be performed using content management system. So Drupal uses all content management system techniques. So CMS, what is that? It is the two technique process. First is a CMA, that is content management application, and next is CDA, that is content delivery application. Content management application is actually an application which adds and it has a structure of your data, and after publishing it we can deliver the content to any kind of pages, and that is content delivery application. So this first CMA is application which allow to access your content, which allow to manage your content on a website, and the CDA will process to backend and stores your data. If it is not useful to retrieve, if it is not there on a page, that can be stored as a backend, as a database. So that is the delivery application. So Drupal is actually a content management system which works with these two technologies. Drupal is reliable, it is secure, and obviously it is built in a PHP based environment. And we can have millions of applications which are created using Drupal. So this tutorial will introduce you how to do page creation, how to publish your content, how to create a blog, how to create a small pages of websites with the ease. But to use a Drupal, you should have some knowledge about HTML and CSS. So you should know some basic tags of HTML and some of PHP you should know. So CMS is actually work on this pattern, which is MVC, that is Model View Controller. So whatever we have, like we have a page, we have content. So for example, if we look at the page, it is with a different categories of data. So we need to categorize according to its requirement, and MVC do the best with a categorization of data. So it has some technique to handle these three, that is user interface, data, and controlling logic. So we are going to categorize our data according to this requirement. First is user interface. Is your website is user friendly? is your website has a GUI to get the data from the user, and that will provide by the user interfaces. Then data, the actual data, the type of data, the process you're going to do on your data, and the controlling logic. Logic means the actual process, what you're going to do with the data. Are you going to store it, or are you going to convert it, or just you are publishing it? So these three techniques are implemented using MVC architecture. So to work with the complex websites, we can use MVC. So to develop a design patterns and layout of a project. Projects means website. So to design a structure of a website, how you're going to manage your content on a website, how you're going to view your data on a website. So developer are useful. Developer have design patterns and a structure, which is having a code and having a less complex and easier to work with. So the most popular patterns are model, view, and controller, which has user interfaces, which has data, and which has controlling logic. So what is model? Model is a data logic and which connects with a backend. Backend is any kind of database we have which fetch the data from the user. Then view, which is handle and render the pages. Whatever you can see, a GUI, your content, websites, data, pages, structure of a website is a view which handles data and render the pages. Obviously, it is useful for fetch pages and users content from the website. And controller will communicate with between the model and view and manage all the requests. Manage all the requests, it can communicate with the user also and gives a response. And that response can be managed by the databases, can be saved into our databases. So this is the technique MVC uses: model, view, and controller. Now, Drupal uses MVC also, and most of the time Drupal uses PAC, that is presentation, abstraction, and control. Now, presentation, abstraction, control is like similar that technique used in a MVC. This also have three components. First is abstraction. Abstraction component retrieves and processes the data. Presentation is like view in MVC, which has component, which has format or a structure of a data, which can be a visual or audio representation of a data. And control, which is actually a controller in MVC. This component handles things such as flow control and communication between other component. Flow control means how your pages are communicating with each other, how your page is communicating with a database, and how database respond your data, how to view it using a presentation component and using an abstraction component. So this works with a abstraction, presentation, and controller components. So both MVC and PAC uses hierarchical structure of agents. So like this: presentation, abstraction, and control. So you can see controller communicates with presentation and control communicate with the abstraction component, and there is no communication between presentation and abstraction directly. Now the website have different kinds of data, so PAC can work together and it forms a component. That component can be communicating with the other component. This component can be communicating with the other component, and then they can share information. and PCA can work individually and depending on the situation, depending on the data provided by the site pages. These agents can be communicating with each other to perform a task, to create a task, to handle data. So these two basic techniques used by the Drupal, which is MVC and PAC. So why we need Drupal if we have PHP, if we have lots of technologies present for the website development? So first is Drupal is actually a content management system which handles the content, which is the type of different data, which is actually flexible for any kind of data. Drupal is very powerful and obviously build large websites and complex websites. Drupal makes easy coding. It will use to create and manage the site pages. It has a ready-made templates and a structure that we we have a super useful technique and less time we can develop any website. The most common and powerful feature of a Drupal is it is open source, freely available, and doesn't require any license cost. Drupal can publish your content on social media, like Drupal can connect with the social platforms and we can publish our content on social media also. So why Drupal? So these are the features of Drupal. It helps to organize the content. It has a structure to design a website, layouts of a website. We can find any kind of contained information here. So we can search it. We can reuse it of data. We can customize themes of our websites. We can have color combinations and themes and structures of layouts. And there are so many templates available. We can use it directly. So if I want to install Drupal on a Windows operating system, then we must have XAMPP installed. That is useful for running PHP programs. It has MySQL also, and you need a Drupal setup. You can download it from the website of a Drupal, and you should have MySQL database to handle to fetch the data from the user, to save organized data to the databases, MySQL databases. So these three required to install Drupal in a Windows operating system. The next video will be how to install Drupal in Windows. So we will see those steps to install Drupal. Thank you.